Our Form 3 class was made up of three girls, leaders, Betha and Jessica. But Jessica never made it into Form 4. She got married along the way. In that class, there was a healthy competition in terms of our studies. I came in as an underdog, having not done so well at Goromonzi. But the end of term examinations jolted a number of people when they realized that I was not a dunce at all. I was not one of those students who would express themselves in the classroom. I knew most of the answers, but teachers, of course, and the students, they knew and they didn't expect anything from me. I can vouch that there was favoritism among teachers. I remember writing my history assignments, bring them to school. Thomas, one of my friends, most of the time didn't do his homework. He would just get my exercise book. Panel beat my answer. He would get a 7, and I would get a 3 or a 4. That was Mrs. Ricky. That was our teacher. But anyway, I really didn't mind that because I knew what I was worth. I had support from my parents. Every week, I was given 50 shillings for my week. 6 pence was for my transport to and fro as I was coming from Harare, and the cost was a ticket for students. The other 5 pence, I used it at the crash at well, I could actually call it a social center on the edges of Zimbabwe grounds next to this Mshandra Pamwe Hotel, where we would have a square meal. But over time, because of my love of football, I skipped the lunches, went Pamsika, where I would get myself sweet potatoes and freeze it, and kept a tiki for each day. For the 4 days or 5 days, I would make a saving of 1 shilling and a tiki. Every Monday, before I boarded the bus, I would buy the Rhodesia Herald so that I could read the results of football matches that were taking place across the country. The TV never mentioned those things. Neither did we have a TV at our home. So I would come to school early, sit down and go through these articles, and other people joined me at that time. I was a supporter of Dynamo Zainangosi. I was introduced by my brother, Sonny Nelson Magusha, who is the father to my sons, Morven, Sam, Christopher, and their Phoebion, and their only daughter, Diana Foyer. So that Tiki take care of the the news on football. The other 5 cents was the one that I used for admission to football matches over the weekend, especially when Dynamos was playing. Sometimes they would play at Gwanzura Stadium, but I began to have problems when they moved from Gwanzura to the showgrounds or Glami Stadium. And the other 5 tiki, I would use it on a bus ride back home after the match. My father never knew about this. So what are you? He was a strict person and he didn't want these mischievous Arish Makusha. The mischief, I suppose, from my experience, the mischief that Asbrook talked about, that spirit was still in me. And there are times when I laugh at myself at my age when I try to be as mischievous as I was when I was young. So after our church service, I would tell my father that I'm going out to the quiet places away from home because there were always lots of visitors where so I would say I would go and read. So I would get either a small Latin book which I could put in my pocket. Then when I got to Chatima Road, I would start jogging to Gwanzura Stadium, or if I was going to the Glami Stadium past Road Hall, I'll also jog to Glami Stadium. But I had to make sure, that I am back home before dark. And this was a challenge during the winter months when the days were shorter. So about 5 or 10 minutes before the match ended, I would exit the stadium, be the first one on the line to get the bus that were set aside. Remember, these were set aside for football supporters going back either to Mbare or National, some to Mfakose, not what we have today where you can never be sure of getting public transport unless if you forgot your own car or if you get into a combi. So my father was earning about £5 a week. It was hard for him. He had his own carpentry shop behind the kitchen where he made articles on order, or he made some articles which, when I was at primary school, would go around the township selling. He would make baby chairs, which on a Saturday you tie them up on his Humber bicycle, traverse the Belvedere area, selling those chairs to supplement his income. And when Lancelot Mutsvangwa lost his father, and later Thomas lost his father, I could feel for them. I knew that this really caused mental anguish in them. When Mutsvangwa or Lancelot lost his father, I saw a sudden transformation in his makeup. In no time, he grew from a carefree, happy teenager into a serious adult. He had to take care of his siblings. He had to do his part in raising income. How he did it is something that was too touchy to ask. But I remember after certain holidays, he came and showed me his hands with cuts. He would go and work during the holidays at Holcomb. I suppose this is where his father worked. So life for him and for Thomas also changed. It was quite a stressful time. But anyway, what can one do but just to deal the hand that has been given to you? Continue to work very hard. He was an intelligent fellow. Then at the end of 1967, we set for our Cambridge school certificate examination. What the structure that was at Highfield Secondary School, where that we had two schools. One was at Misha, where commercial students, that is those who did commerce, had their lessons. So there was typing, there was bookkeeping, but I never really knew what was going on there because it wasn't my business. In 1967, the government pronounced that every student who was going to write examinations must have a birth certificate. So my father took me to Mutsvangwa in the city center, where that birth certificate was duly registered. They asked for surnames, and at that time we really didn't have what we would call surnames in the uh, English sense. Various names were used to refer to people. He, being Mhlanga, was called Mhlanga by some people. Some called him Dube because he Samite. So surname really was a new phenomenon. The Katsekera, that is the administration, normally gave wrote down people's first names. on their register. My father's name is Tuta. So as a result, some of my brothers, my in fact, my other siblings have the surname Tuta, which was my father's first name. This was odd, and I don't know, as a society, whether we have made a decision on what a surname is in our families. And I should believe that Vito must have been Mutsvangwa's father's first name. I'm not sure, but come to think of it, it is possible. The Magusha that I used was my formal name because the clerk at Katsekera was a churchmate with my father, and at church they referred to him as Magusha. So when he presented himself, he automatically put Magusha in. He never asked him what the surname was. This is how I got the Magusha surname. So we wrote our Cambridge School Certificate examinations, and the results came out um, in February the following year. I obtained a first division, Lancelot a first division, Thomas Ruvire another second division, sorry, first division. So this was the top grade at Cambridge. But these the points that we obtained ranged from 6 being the most brilliant to 24, I think, which was the borderline for the first division in the Cambridge certificate. So at the end of it all, we qualified for lower 6 or Form 5 at that time, and Lancelot headed for Goromonzi, and I headed to Fletcher. And Thomas, instead of going for Form 5, he really didn't have the means to pay for his fees. So he enrolled at Gweru Teachers, um, Gweru Teachers College for teacher training. And one of the fellow students that were in my class were George Sharara, who also came to um, Fletcher, and the leaders went to Mpegwani for a Form 5. So this is the end of part 2.